Hey, good morning. Michael Didier here. I'm so glad you're there. I say good morning every time. It's the morning. I guess it's morning, but there's lots of people that are coming online, huh? Hey! Yo, all you groovy guys and groovy gals. So glad you're here. Michael Didier here. And we're going through Torah again. Last week, wasn't that exciting? Oh my, to see the test that they got put through. Oh, we're going to just review it right now. Remember, here it is. We had Joseph revealing himself to his brother. What did he say? I am Joseph. Remember, he said, can you tell by this device where Joseph is? And he says, Joseph seems to be sitting on the throne right next to me. And he says, I'm Joseph. But he says, I'm going to test your brothers. Oh my goodness, what a test it was. Almost destroyed Egypt. Many died. Strong men died. Infants in the womb died. We'll see. Here it is. Here's the summary. He says, if they dare their lives to fight for thee, this is going to be the test. Remember what happened? He snuck a silver cup, the cup that he practiced, that he said, divination with. He accused them of taking it so that they could find their brother. Well, they knew they didn't take it. And they swore, he says, he with whom the master's cup shall be found shall die. And we will also become his slaves. They knew they didn't have it, but they did have it. They swore an oath and created a huge problem for themselves because now he's taking Benjamin. So look what happens. It says here that they tore their clothes. And then listen to what Judah says. It says Judah's anger was kindled. And he said, this man has only brought us back to Egypt to destroy it this day. Wow. Well, the first thing he did, look, they met with Pharaoh. Well, Joseph, Pharaoh's assistant, they met with Joseph. And it says he took Benjamin, brought him into his house, left a message, go in peace to your father. See you, boys. Behold, I've taken the man in whose hand my cup was found. Well, that's not going to sit well for Benjamin or for Judah, is it? Because remember, he's surety for Benjamin. They can't go back to their dad. Oh, well, yeah, he took Benjamin. Sorry. No, look what happens. This is the countenance of Judah is changing. Hasn't changed yet, but it's developing. We already saw he brings us back this day to destroy Egypt. He says, when Judah saw the dealings of Joseph with them, it says he broke open the door. Broke open the door. Remember, we were talking about breaking into the White House. Can you imagine the Secret Service, what they're going to be doing? Oh my, serious stuff. And then he comes before the king. Look what he says. Now, therefore, let the king hear my voice. No, his demeanor is changing, isn't it? And send, I pray thee, our brother, that he may go along with us to our father, lest thy soul perish this day with all the souls of the inhabitants of Egypt. No, it's not going to happen. He reminded him, what did Simeon do to the 7 cities of the Amorites, to Shechem first and then to the 7 cities of the Amorites? He says, I'm stronger than they are. Here it is, verse 6. And I, with my strength, who am greater and mightier than both of them, will come this day to thy land, upon thee and thy land, if thou art unwilling to send our brother. Well, he reminded him about what happened with Pharaoh when he took Sarah, Abraham's woman. He says, and Judah said, surely it becometh thee and thy people to fear me. As Jehovah liveth, if I once draw my sword, I shall not sheathe it again until I shall this day have slain Egypt. And I will commence with thee and finish with Pharaoh thy master. Woo, baby, those are fighting words, aren't they? Well, they know something's going on. He says, and Judah said, what is with thee? Or the character of the king? Surely the king sendeth forth from his house throughout the land silver and gold, either in gifts or expenses. And thou takest upon thy cup, which thou did place in our brother's bag. He knows what's going on. They didn't steal it. And saith that he hath stolen it from thee. God forbid that our brother Benjamin or any seed of Abraham should do this thing to steal from thee, or from anyone else, whether king, prince, or any man. No, we don't steal. Israel's seed does not steal. Well, now Joseph starts taking another tact. He is reminding his brother Judah over and over about what he did to his brother Joseph. Inside information. This is not stuff that anybody would know about. This is stuff that the Midianites would know about, but not the Ishmaelites. This is stuff that the brothers would know about, but not the Midianites. Who could they get this information from? Well, Judah is so involved with quarreling that he's really not considering these things. And so they banter back and forth, and he keeps reminding him about what they did to his brother. Listen what he says. There is no false judgment in the words which I spoke on account of your brother Joseph. For all of you sold him to the Midianites for 20 pieces of, he even knew how much. But Judah keeps ignoring his questions. He knew about Tamar. He knew about his taking of Tamar. Adulterous relationship with this woman who was engaged. What do we call it? Betrothed to his son Shelah. Judah gets angry, picks up this huge rock, throws it up with one hand, catches it with the other hand, puts it on the ground, sits on it, turns it to dust. But then Manasseh, 5 years old, maybe 6, does exactly the same thing. Oh, we see this over and over. 3 times we saw it last week. This man is not an Egyptian, but by his doing this thing, he is of our father's family. Well, to say that, there's a lot of people that say things, but it doesn't really register. They say it, they know it, but they don't organize or reorganize their life to make it fact. If he had realized that, that's going to change something, isn't it? But instead, Joseph kept reminding him. Look at how he says, go tell your father, an evil beast has devoured him, as you said concerning your brother Joseph. Every time Joseph gets more angry. Well, now he's had it. He's speaking to Naphtali. Go search out the city. Find out how many streets there are, because we're going to take on the city. Now, Joseph gets concerned. Look what it says. And Joseph was greatly afraid at the words of his brethren, lest they should destroy Egypt. He knows they're capable of it. And he commanded his son, go now, make haste, gather unto me the inhabitants of Egypt and all the valiant men together, and let them come to me now upon horseback and on foot, with all sorts of musical instruments. He's trying to put a face on of his strength, but without the weapons. And look what's going to happen. Even the brothers, even without the weapons, the brothers were afraid. Remember, Judah remember that Judah had to calm his brothers down and remind them who they were. Well, look what happens. Here they are. And their number was 500 cavalry, 10,000 infantry, 400 men who could fight without sword, only with their hands. Yes, Jacob's seed was afraid. Oh, isn't it interesting that it would say Jacob's seed and not Israel's seed was afraid? And Judah, no, let's go down here. Judah hastened, drew his sword, uttered a loud and bitter scream. This is the scream, the roar of the lion that goes out into the land when these men get angry. What happened? Do you remember what happened? Here it is. And whilst they were fleeing, men died. All the men started running away. They fell over one another and died. Here, there was even a spot where maybe it was the second roar. Let's take a look. And whilst they were fleeing, Judah and his brethren pursued them unto the house of Pharaoh, and they all escaped. And Judah again sat before Joseph and roared at him like a lion and gave a great and tremendous shriek. Yes, look what's happening. And the shriek was heard at a distance, and all the inhabitants of Sukkot heard it. And all Egypt quaked at the sound of the shriek also. And the walls of Egypt and the land of Goshen fell in from the shaking of the earth. And Pharaoh also fell from his throne upon the ground. And all the pregnant women of Egypt and Goshen miscarried when they heard the voice of the shaking, for they were terribly afraid. You know, there's going to come a great shaking of the earth in the future. I wonder if that great shaking, like the great shaking here, like the great shaking when we came into Jericho, into the promised land, the gateway of the promised land. I wonder if that's going to be a shaking also that's going to be caused by the roar of Israel's seed's voice. Wouldn't that be interesting? What's going to cause that great shaking of the earth? And look at it. Here's now all the brethren. It says that and Judah and his brethren were still standing before Joseph, indignant and enraged, and all Jacob's seed roared at Joseph like the roaring of the sea. Now, Joseph asks his son Manasseh. Remember, let's think about this. Manasseh is the eldest son, firstborn. They're twins, but they're firstborn. It's Manasseh that did the stone. It's Manasseh that put Simeon in jail. Remember? Hit him on the back of the neck, put him in jail. Now, Joseph is telling Manasseh, put your hand on Joseph's shoulder. And it was when Joseph had Manasseh's hand on his shoulder, it says the anger of Judah was stilled. And Judah said unto his brother, and here it is again. Judah said unto his brethren, let none of you say that this is an act of the Egyptian youth, for this is the work of my father's house. There it is. That's the third time that's come up. And this touch calmed Judah, and Joseph began to speak to Judah in the language of mildness. Isn't that interesting? He's trying to calm the situation, but he's still not done. Apparently the test isn't over. There's still more coming. Joseph says, surely you speak truth, and have this day verified your assertions concerning your strength. And may your Elohim, who delighteth in you, increase your welfare. But tell me truly, why from among all the brethren dost thou wrangle with me on account of the lad? And none of them have spoken one word to me concerning him. Why? Well, it's because he's made surety. They called it in here, surely you know that I was security for the lad to my father. He was surety for the lad. They just use a different word. Probably was the same Hebrew word, I would guess. Well, from there, he's willing to still give in. Even with all the brouhaha that's been going on, look what he says. I will remain a substitute for him, to serve thee in whatever thou desirest. For wherever thou shalt send me, I will go to serve thee with great energy. Send me to a mighty king who has rebelled against thee, and thou shalt know what I will do unto him and unto his land. Although he have cavalry and infantry and exceedingly mighty people, I will slay them all and bring the king's head before thee. Well, he talks about his mighty strength and the origin of the mighty strength, and when this mighty strength started coming on Israel's seed, right after Abraham fought with the kings of Elam. Well, it's just like Joseph just wants to push it and push it and push it. So now, once again, he's going to say, however, on this condition will I send your brother. He's going to say, I'll send your brother, but on one condition. What is the condition? If you will bring before me his brother, the son of his mother, of whom you said he had gone from you down to Egypt. And it shall come to pass when you bring unto me his brother, I will take him in his stead. Well, Joseph, listen to Judah's response. And Judah's anger was kindled against Joseph when he spoke this thing, and his eyes dropped blood with anger. And he said unto his brethren, how does this man this day seek his own destruction, and that of all Egypt? Well, now for the first time, Simeon's going to break in. Remember, Simeon's been in Joseph's house for the last year and 2 months. Simeon's going to say, did we not tell thee at first that we knew not the particular spot to which he went, and whether he is dead or alive? Then Joseph said to his brethren, surely you said that your brother was either dead or lost. Now if I should call him this day, and he shall come before you, would you give him unto me instead of his brother? And Joseph began to speak, didn't even give him a chance to answer, and called out, Joseph! Joseph! Come this day before me. So the brothers, they looked to the left, they looked to the right. Where's he? Well, this is when Joseph reveals himself. And Joseph observed all their acts, and said unto them, why dost thou look here and there? I am Joseph, whom you sold to Egypt. Now therefore, let it not grieve you that you sold me. For as a support during the famine did Elohim send me before you. Elohim sent him, shalak him. And his brethren were terrified when they heard the words of Joseph. And Judah was exceedingly terrified at him. Oh my goodness, we're in so much trouble. Well, they weren't. Joseph had forgiven them because of the acts that they did to preserve their brother Benjamin. Well, after he revealed himself, they had a great warm reunion. He gave them many, many gifts, chariots, silver, gold, bdellium. Gave presents for their sons and their wives. Almost, it was strung out a long time. They gave stuff especially to Dinah. Remember, she was not only a daughter and a sister, but also a wife. She was Simeon's wife. Now he's sending him back. Remember, he sent back the chariot that he was coronated in. Remember when he went before all Egypt, he rode in the chariots. He sent that chariot back to Canaan to bring back his father. But listen to what he says, because this is the last thing that he tells them. When you come into the land of Canaan, do not come suddenly before my father in this affair, but act in your wisdom. He's concerned he's going to have a heart attack when he hears the good news. Well, they did act carefully. Watch today when we see this in Torah, how they almost skip over it. It says, and they went along until they came nigh unto their houses. And they found Sarah, the daughter of Yasher, going forth to meet them. And the damsel was very good and subtle. Last week we said subtle was skill or ingenuity, clever, and knew how to play upon the heart. Well, they had her play a song. This is the song. She came before Joseph, and she played well and sang and uttered in sweetness of her words. Joseph, my uncle, is living, and he ruleth throughout the land of Egypt, and is not dead. It says he listened. She repeated them twice, thrice, and joy entered the heart of Jacob at the sweetness of her words, and the spirit of Elohim was upon him, and he knew all her words were true. They're breaking it to him very subtly. And Jacob blessed Sarah when she spake these words before him. And he said unto her, my daughter, may death never prevail over thee, for thou hast revived my spirit. Well, now here's the brothers coming with the chariots, with all that they have with them. Servants running before them. Oh my goodness, remember, he sent them 10 asses. You're coming back with chariots. Asses filled with riches, with food for the journey. And now they're going to tell them, be informed that our brother Joseph is living. And it is he that ruleth throughout the land of Egypt. And it is he who spoke unto us as we told thee. Remember, they said to their father, even over Avimelech, the one king that they respect the most, with wisdom, with authority. This man is so far above him that Avimelech would be one of his princes. He says, when this man speaks, you should hear the sweetness of his voice. And now it turns out that was Joseph. Wow. Jacob's heart palpitated, it said. Well, they're unpacking all the goodies. But what does Jacob say? He says, it is enough. I'm full. For me, that my son Joseph is still living. I will go and see him before I die. Well, that's where we left off. The last thing we said when we were talking about the feast. And Jacob made a feast. Here's a feast in the midst of a famine for all the kings of Canaan, the nobles of the land. And they drank and rejoiced in the house of Jacob. Joseph is alive. Remember how they all mourned with Jacob for the loss of Joseph. Well, we skipped 45, we skipped 46. The next thing that we're going to talk about here in 55, which is in Yasher, is going to be the reunion. I'm hoping, I've got to get to this reunion today. So we'll see how long we're going to go, but I really want to get to this reunion. I may skip 46 and come to here, depending on what time we have left. So I want to go to 45 in Torah. Here we are. Then Joseph could not restrain himself before all those who stood by him. Remember, this is right after he's just getting ready to reveal himself to his brothers. Here, the last thing we talked about was this. Now, therefore, please let your servants remain instead of the lad. Your servant remain instead of the lad as a slave. We keep saying slave. You know what? It's not slave. It's aved. It's servant. All these words that say slave, I remembered last week I was saying slave, 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 slave. I got to correct myself because it's not slave, it's servant. It's aved or avadim, when they were talking about all the brothers will be your slaves. It's servants. And let the lad go up with his brothers. For how shall I go to my father if the lad is not with me, lest perhaps I see the evil that would come upon my father? This is where we left off. So now Judah is getting ready to reveal himself. There's so much more in Yasher that we got to see before this revealing. We got to see the near destruction of Egypt. But now he's going to reveal himself. This is it, 45:1. 3 is where he's actually going to do it. Then Joseph could not restrain himself before all those who stood by him. And he cried out, "Make everyone go out from me." Talking about all the Egyptians who were there. So no one stood with him while Joseph made himself known to his brothers. And he wept aloud, and the Egyptians of the house of Pharaoh heard it. He wept aloud. This is the first time that he's weeping aloud in front of his brethren, it appears. Remember, he always left the room to weep, didn't he? This is a very emotional experience for Joseph. He was separated from his brothers for a long time, and they did not leave on good terms, did they? Then Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph." Listen to the very next thing he says. "Does my father still live?" Not "I forgive you." Does my father still live? That's the most important thing for Joseph. Does dad still live? But the brothers could not answer him, for they were dismayed in his presence. And Joseph said to his brothers, "Please come near." In Yasher, they just came near. "Please come near." Then he said, "I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold to Egypt. But now, do not therefore be grieved or angry with yourselves, because you sold me here, for Elohim sent me before you to preserve life. For these 2 years the famine has been in the land, and there are still 5 years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvesting." Here's the word I was looking for. "And Jehovah sent me before you to preserve a posterity for you in the earth, and to save your lives by a great deliverance." The word sent is the word shalach. The sent one. It's the messenger that the man sends who can speak for him. But sometimes being sent is not much fun. But if we will go, we will be great in his kingdom. Do you remember what his mother said as he cried on his mother's grave as he was being brought to Egypt by the Ishmaelites after he had been sold from the Midianites? He laid on her grave and cried and wept. And she said, "Go down with your masters, for Jehovah will be with you." Well, it is painful being kicked out of our families, isn't it? He says to save your lives by a great deliverance. To save your lives by a great deliverance. This is what Jehovah will do with the 144,000, his servants, the 144,000-ish. Men who serve Jehovah with all their hearts and with all their soul and with all their strength, who are even now being kicked out of the synagogues and homes. It's happening all over the earth right now. Look what it says, Isaiah 57:1. There's something in John that talks about it too. It's a little bit perverted, I took it out. But I like it here in Isaiah 57. It says, "The righteous perishes. No one takes it to heart. No man takes it to heart. No ish takes it to heart. Merciful men are taken away, while no one considers that the righteous is taken away from the evil." This is what happened to Joseph, isn't it? The righteous was taken away from the evil, the jealous ones. He's having dreams. He's telling them their dreams. They don't like it. So now it was not you who sent me here, but the Elohim. This is one of the places in the Torah where it says the Elohim. Ha Elohim is the Elohim. Remember, he's an Elohim. Pharaoh's an Elohim. He's an Elohim just under Pharaoh. He makes the laws. He makes the judgments, but he's talking about the Elohim. And he has made me a father to Pharaoh. Oh my gosh. Talk about the Elohim compared to him. If he's a father to Pharaoh. Wow. And master of all his house. And a ruler throughout the land of Egypt. Hurry now and go up to my father and say to him, thus says your son Joseph, Elohim has made me Adon, master of all Egypt. Come down to me, do not tarry. Come down, Dad. You shall dwell in the land of Goshen, and you shall be near to me, you and your sons and your son's seed. Here it is right here. They put children's seed. No. Here's you, thou. Here is, and thy sons, and thy sons, and thy son's seed, is how we're going to say that. And thy son's seed. I said, and thy son's sons, but it's really more thy son's seed. We're going to talk about Israel's seed today. Who is it that's actually coming down? Who is it that's actually going to get the land? I want you to see this. Chapter 46 is probably one of the first places that I began to understand that it was not about children of Israel. It wasn't about sons of Israel. It was about the seed of Israel. Well, the seed idea came a lot later. But this is where I first began to see some of those things, and I think you're going to see it today. It's very clear. Verse 11. There I will provide for you, lest you and your household and all that you have come to poverty. For there are still 5 years of famine. Household. I was thinking this week, remember where it says in Joshua, it's like 14:24, I think it is, Joshua 14:24. It says, if it seems evil for you to serve Yehovah, then choose this day whom you will serve. Whether the gods that your father served on the other side of the river, back in back in Babylon, or the Elohim, the gods of the Amorite, the lawmakers and judges of the Amorites, in whose land you now dwell. But he says this, as for me and my household, we will serve Yehovah. Now, I always took household as me, my woman, me, my wife, and my 2 sons. Household. I think I'm starting to get a new take on what this household is that we're talking about. I think, remember, the wife doesn't serve Yehovah. The daughters don't serve Yehovah. The cows and the oxen don't serve Yehovah. Who serves Yehovah? The men serve Yehovah. The sons serve their dad until they leave. Then they serve Yehovah. I'm starting to see, and you can help me look, when it's talking about household, we may be talking about the seed of the household, the men of the household. Is it possible that Joshua is talking about him and the seed of his household? As for me and my household, we will serve Yehovah. Those are all the men who are under him, and their wives, and their daughters, and their sons. or maybe I should say, with their wives and their daughters and their sons. Remember, it's not about the wives serving Yahovah. It's about the sons serving Yahovah. Well, that's just a thought. There's places in here where it maybe doesn't fit that well. But I think we're going to see, if we will kind of open our mind to maybe a different way of looking at it, that we begin to see some things that we haven't seen before, and to understand who it is that actually is serving Yahovah. As for me and my house, we shall serve Yahovah. As for me and my seed, we shall serve Yahovah. Who's he talking about? Just a thought. Still 5 more years of famine. And behold, your eyes and the eyes of my brother Benjamin see that it is my mouth that speaks to you. So you shall tell my father of all my glory in Egypt, and of all that you have seen, and you shall hurry and bring my father down here. Then he fell on his brother Benjamin's neck and wept. Oh, the joy that he's experiencing right now must be a delight. Benjamin wept on his neck. Moreover, he kissed all his brothers and wept over them. And after that, his brothers talked with him. Now the report of it was heard in Pharaoh's house. Well, remember, Pharaoh heard of it all. He knew that destruction was coming on Egypt. You can't even see it in Torah, can you? He sent word to Joseph, look, either go with those guys or join us. You got to make a choice. But if you're going to join us, you got to let the brother go, so they'll go. Well, that was when Joseph really got scared. His brothers were getting ready to tear down the city. And now Pharaoh's even mad at him. Now the report of it was heard in Pharaoh's house. Yeah, everything was heard in Pharaoh's house, saying Joseph's brothers have come. So it pleased Pharaoh and all his servants well. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, say to your brothers, do this, load your animals and depart to the land of Canaan. Bring your father and your household and come to me. Your father and your households and come to me, and I will give you the best of the land of Egypt, and you will eat the fat of the land. Now you are commanded, do this. Take carts out of the land of Egypt for your tough and for your women. Tough, little ones, here it is, tough. Thy tough, for thy tough. No, for your tough. This is masculine plural. For your tough and for your nashim. Nashim. Remember the mem comes off when they add the kaf mem that says your. It's all about the conjugation. Bring your father and come. Also, do not be concerned about your goods, for the best of the land of Egypt is yours. Don't worry about bringing everything. We got plenty here, and it's going to be yours. It says, then Israel's seed. Isn't it interesting? They talk about Israel's seed here, but in Yasher, they talk about Jacob's seed all the time. Why the difference, I wonder? Then Israel's seed did so, and Joseph gave them carts according to the command of Pharaoh, and he gave them provisions for the journey. Well, look, they just talked this little bit about the provisions that he's sending down. He gave all of them to each man changes of garments. Remember the silver and gold, princely garments, royal garments that he gave them? He gave them to his brothers, and he also gave his brothers 100 shekels of silver, as I recall. But here, he's going to give to Benjamin 300 shekels of silver and 5 changes of garments. Well, we saw that Benjamin's sons got more than their sons. I believe that Benjamin's sons even got chariots. The other sons did not get chariots, the sons of the sons. Showed preference to Benjamin in many ways. And he sent to his father these things, 10 donkeys loaded with good things of Egypt, 10 female donkeys loaded with grain, bread, and food for his father and for the journey. So he sent his brothers away, and they departed. And he said to them, see that you do not become troubled along the way. Why is he saying become troubled along the way? I've kind of gone back and forth with this. Are they concerned about blaming one another? That's what I said last week when we were reading it in Yasher. But this seems that it might have something to do with even their father and the news that's coming to him. Let me just finish this, and you can decide that for yourselves. Then they went up out of Egypt, and they came to the land of Canaan, to Jacob their father. Well, now, remember he's saying, don't get troubled along the way. This all seems to be related to the news that Joseph is alive, because now verse 26, it says, and they told him, saying, Joseph is still alive, and he is the governor of all Egypt. Well, this is what it says in Torah, but look at what it says in Yasher. It's the same words, but it's being broken to Jacob in a much gentler fashion. I put Yasher gives the background information concerning how careful the sons were in telling Jacob the news about Joseph. This is the song that Sarah sang for Joseph. Do you remember Sarah? We talked about her this morning. We also talked about her last week. Here's what she said. She played well and sang and uttered in the sweetness of her words, Joseph, my uncle, is living. Joseph is still alive, and he ruleth throughout the land of Egypt. He's not dead, and he is the governor over all the land of Egypt. These are the words that they gave to their father, but they didn't give them to them themselves. They gave them more gently through this sweet little girl, Sarah. It says, and Jacob's heart stood still, because he did not believe them. Well, remember, she sang it thrice, before he began to say, this is true. And Jacob blessed Sarah when she spoke these words before him. And he said unto her, my daughter, may death never prevail over thee, for thou hast revived my spirit. Only speak yet before me as thou hast spoken, for thou hast gladdened me with all thy words. What a beautiful picture this is. But when they told him all the words which Joseph had said to them, and when he saw the carts, now here they're telling him the words. That's why I say it says they told him, but they weren't really there yet. Then they come with the carts. Remember from Yasher, they came with the carts after she had a chance to talk with the father or sing for Jacob. But when they told him all the words which Joseph had said, and when he saw the carts which Joseph had sent to carry him, the spirit of Jacob their father was revived. Yes, revived, for thou hast revived my spirit. Then Israel said, it is enough. It is enough. Here it is. This is the word Rav. Rav. It is enough. They say Rav. Let's go with the V in it. Enough. I'm filled exceedingly. This is great joy to Jacob. Joseph, my son, is alive. I will go down and see him before I die. What a beautiful story. Well, now the very next verse that we're going to have is this. So Israel took his journey with all that he had and came to Beersheba and offered sacrifices to the Elohim of his father Isaac. I don't know if it says the Elohim. I'm not going to worry about it. I like it when they use the Elohim. Let's remember, he's the Elohim. But this word sacrifices, again, I probably should have put this in a different color because this is a perversion. I want you, as you read the scriptures, to understand there is no word for sacrifices. This whole idea of sacrifices that we have. Okay, he is slaughtering. This is the word slaughter. Here's the word. It's zavak. Zavak. This is the word from here. Let's see if I can get it. Do it this way. From here to here. That's zavak. This is zavakim that they're using. But zavakim is a slaughter. This is stuff that we're going to use for food. What's going on here? He offered sacrifices to the Elohim of his father Isaac. What are we talking about? This is the great feast that he gave for the people of the land. They're all coming to eat. And he used Zavik's Shalamim offerings for this great feast. Then Elohim spoke to Israel. How? In the vision of the night. Nobody came. He's speaking to him in a vision. He said, Jacob, Jacob. What does he say? Here I am. Oh, here. I'm going to go back up here. Here I am. Hininai. We talked about that, Raya and I, yesterday. Gentiles have dreams rather than visions. Jehovah's men, especially the prophets, have both, but most often have visions. Here, this was translated better. And and Elohim said to Israel in a night vision, Jacob, Jacob. And he said, here I am. Oh, I wanted to say Michael, Michael. I want to say Hininai. So he said, I am Elohim, the Elohim of your father. Do not fear to go down to Egypt. I will make of you a great nation there. It says, a great nation there. Is the nation great? Or is he really talking about making to you a plethora of people? You know what? Oh, the Jews always want to translate this word. Here's the word right here. Goy. Goy. For a great goy. This is gadol. A great goy. Here's gadol. Magnify, rope, magnificent. But listen to the definition. A cord is made by twisting fibers together. The large and more numerous the fibers, the stronger the cord will be. Anything that is large or great in size or stature, okay, I think we're talking about size. He's making a plethora of people, a plethora of sons. These aren't all great sons. For heaven's sakes, he says they were stiff-necked people when he brought them out. They were working for Pharaoh. No, I think there's something going on here that we've got to look deeper at. I will make unto you for a plethora of people, or make for you a plethora of people. I will go down with you to Egypt, and I will also surely bring you up again. And Joseph will put his hand on your eyes. Remember, this is part of the reason why I think later on he made Joseph swear. We're going to see. He put his hand under his yarak, his privates and made his son swear that he would bury him in Egypt. Maybe it was to fulfill Yehovah's word here, you think? I wonder. Then Jacob arose from Beersheba, and Israel's seed carried their father. Okay, here's Bnei Israel. Jacob arose from Beersheba, and Israel's seed, Bnei Israel, carried their father, Jacob, their little ones, their wives, in carts which Pharaoh had sent to carry them. Him. What does this tell you? Let's think about this for a second. Israel's seed is carrying their father. Their little ones. Their little ones can't be Israel's seed, can they? Their wives. Israel's seed is carrying their wives. They can't be Israel's seed. In carts which Pharaoh had taken them, they took their livestock and their goods, which they had acquired in the land of Canaan, and went to Egypt. Jacob and all his descendants with him. I think we're talking about seed, but then it gets confused again in the following verse. Let me read a few of my notes here. Here is their father, their little ones, and their women, their nashim. This is Israel's seed. Here it is, Bnei Israel. Right there, Bnei Israel. They're not the little ones. They're not the women. Of course, if we're talking about Israel's seed, Jacob can't be Israel's seed because he's Israel, isn't he? Remember, he's the one that got the name. Took their livestock. All his seed. Here's the seed. And all is call, his seed. Seed, and this says his. This thing at the end says his. If I can get it, there it is. His seed. His sons and his sons' sons, his daughters and his sons' daughters, and all his descendants he brought with him to Egypt. His sons and his sons' sons, his daughters and his daughters, and his sons' daughters, his daughters and his sons' daughters, and all the descendants he brought with him to Egypt. Now these are the names of Israel's seed. Let's talk about who Israel's seed is. These are the names of Israel's seed. Jacob and his sons. Jacob and his sons. Israel's seed. I don't know why I have it there twice. His banim, his sons. Banim. I know it looks like b'nai, doesn't it? I used to be confused because I didn't understand the conjugation by adding the what would that be, a pronoun to this noun, sons, this plural noun. His sons, his banim is what it's saying. So now he's going to list who is Israel's seed. This is where my eyes began to see something new. This is such an interesting chapter. Reuben. Here it is. This doesn't say the sons of Reuben. It says Reuben's seed. Reuben's seed. Who's Reuben's seed? Here they are. 4 sons. Kanak, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. Simeon's seed were 5 from Dinah. Dinah gave him 5 sons, and then his concubine gave him 1 son, Saul, Shaul. Here. It says, the Canaanite woman's son. Ooh, isn't that interesting? The Canaanite woman's son. Here, this is it right here in Yasher. And Simeon, his brother, took his sister Dinah for a woman, and she bore him 5 sons. And he afterwards came to Bunah, a Canaanitish woman. This is the Canaanite woman's son is what it actually is saying here in Torah. The same is Bunah, whom Simeon took captive from the city of Shechem. And Bunah was before Dinah and attended upon her. She was a Shifka. And Simeon came to her, and she bore unto him. Bunah was a concubine. Ooh, so interesting. Here, Reuben, let's see where his wife came from. Talking about Reuben's seed again, like I said. It was at that time, in that year, which is the year of Joseph's going down to Egypt, after his brothers had sold him, that Reuben, the son of Jacob, went to Timnah and took for him a woman, Eli-Uram, the daughter of Avi the Canaanite. And he came to her, and Eli-Uram, Reuben's woman, conceived and bare him 4 sons. I'm not going to say all the sons' names. Well, I will in some cases. In the very next verse, I have to. This is interesting. Here are the sons of Levi, Levi's seed in this case. Levi's seed were Gershon, Kohath, Merari. Now, there's something very interesting here. Let me read it to you and see if you see what's going on. This is in Yasher. And Levi and Issachar went to the land of the east, and they took for themselves, for women, the daughters of Yovav, the son of Yoktan, the son of Eber, daughters from righteous men. And Yavav, the son of Yoktan, had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Adinah, and the name of the younger was Aradah. And Levi took Adinah, and Issachar took Aradah. And they came to the land of Canaan and their father's house. And Adinah bare unto Levi Gershon, Kohath, Merari, 3 sons. Look what it says now. And their sister Jochebed. Isn't that interesting? When I saw this, I said, what? Jochebed is the daughter of Levi? Do you know what that means? That has huge ramifications. Jochebed is the mother of Moses, the mother of Aaron, and the mother of Miriam, in a complete other order. Moses was the younger, Miriam was the eldest. Look what it says here in Numbers. It took me a long time to find this. The name of Amram's wife was Jochebed. Look what it says. The daughter of Levi, who was born to Levi in Egypt. It says to Amram, she bore Aaron and Moses and their sister Miriam. Miriam's the oldest, but they put her last. Why? Because she's a woman. Aaron is second-born. Moses is third-born. But Aaron is the firstborn male, and Moses is the second-born male. Levi's daughter is not mentioned here, as she was in the womb, but she was not counted in the 70. I used to think she was counted in the 70. But again, you find out new things as you begin to go through the scriptures. We're going to see a bigger picture of that today. Let's continue reading because I want you to see some things. Here, let's talk about the seed of Judah. Were and Onan, the 2 sons who died because they did wickedness before Yahovah. Let their seed go out on the ground, but they were wicked men besides that. Onan didn't want to produce seed for his brother. I think he wanted a double blessing. Didn't want to give it to the son. Shelah was the only one that remained of the, here, I've got it here, of the Aliyah, the daughter that he took who was a Canaanite. Aliyat. Onan died. And it says, but and Onan died. Well, they list Perez and Zerah. Remember, we had a whole chapter about that, didn't we? Tamar was the woman who came to Judah's house as a wife for then a wife for Onan. She was supposed to be given to Shelah, but he didn't want to give her to him, and she ended up getting seed from Judah because she was owed Judah's seed, and had Perez and Zerah. It says, but and Onan died in the land of Canaan. And the sons of Perez's seed, again, we're talking about Perez's seed, were Hezron, and Kemuel. Let's take a look at this. Here it is, the story from Yasher. And Judah went at that time to Adullam. And he came to the man of Adullam, and his name was Hara. And Judah saw there a daughter of the man of Canaan, and her name was Aliat, the daughter of Shua, and he took her and came to her. And Aliat bore unto Judah Onan, and Shelah 3 sons. In those days, Judah went to the house of Shem and took Tamar, the daughter of Elam, the son of Shem, for a woman for his firstborn Well, you know the story. I'm gonna stop here. She ended up begetting Perez and Zerah to Judah. That's where they came from. I just think it's really interesting to see where all these people are coming from. Next, we're going to talk about Issachar. We already talked about Levi and Issachar going down. Remember, they're brothers. They're going down to, or up, or over, wherever they went, to go to Eber's seed to find these 2 daughters. She gave them 4 sons to Issachar. Then Zebulun, the last born. There's a Dinah. Dinah was born after Zebulun. And Zebulun went to Midian and took for his woman Merishah, the daughter of Molad, the son of Arvadah, the son of Midian. That would make him Ishmael's seed. Remember, Midian was one of the sons of Ishmael through Keturah and Abraham, and brought her to the land of Canaan. And Merishah bare to Zebulun 3 sons. These are the sons of Leah, the seed of Leah. The seed of Leah, B'nai Leah, whom she bore to Jacob. They're Jacob's seed. But they're saying seed of Leah because they want to distinguish who each one of these sons came from. But now look what it says. This is the seed of Leah, whom she bore to Jacob with his daughter Dinah. Not seed. Dinah is his daughter. All the persons, his sons and his daughters, it says daughters. Why does it say daughters? We're 33. Wow, this is really confusing. And I always wanted to figure this out. If you count these guys, you can count all the green. No, the yellow, Reuben. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we're calling the sons and the sons' sons. Okay, we're also going to count the daughter. But when you count all these people, because here they said the sister Dinah, we get 32, not 33, even though it says 33 right here. 33. What's up with that? I've counted it 1,000,000 times. It's 32 every time. I thought, well, maybe Yocheved was in there. And that makes it 33. But if you add 32, this is where it's so weird, because now down here, I'm going to come down. I'm going to go down here first. So no, I guess I got to go here. Here's 32, not 33. 32 and 16 and 11 and 7. This is Zilpah's sons, Rachel's sons. Zilpah's sons, Rachel's sons. This is Bilhah's sons. Funny, I never noticed that before. B-I-L-H, Bilhah's sons. 7. 32 plus 16 plus 11 plus 7 is 66. If we make it correct, 33, now we get 67. Oh man, it's just so confusing. What's up with that? So is Yocheved supposed to be included? It said daughters, sons and his daughters. She's a granddaughter, that's what it is. But still, they seem to be counting granddaughters. What's going on? 32, but it says 33, but there's only 32 listed. I thought maybe that she was being listed out, or she was being taken out. But if it were 33, like it says, then we would have 67, not 66. Oh, it's so confusing. You can see it even confuses me. And I've been through this a bunch of times. Oh, then we talked about Gad's seed. Gad's seed. He's one of Zilpah's sons. Remember, she had 2 sons, Gad and Asher. Gad's seed were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Asher's seed was 4. And Sarah, their sister. Now they're going to count her. Let's count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There it is, 16 persons. 16 persons. But Zerah's not even seed. She doesn't come from his loins, does she? This seems to be counting things that are coming from his loins. I don't understand it. Here, let's see where these wives came from. This is Gad's women. And Gad and Naphtali. Gad and Naphtali. Naphtali was one of the sons of Bilhah, I think. Yeah, there they are right now, son of Bilhah. Gad and Naphtali went to Haran. Remember Haran? That's where Laban was at. That's where Laban and, Nahor. Nahor, there it is right there. Gad and Naphtali went to Haran and took from thence the daughters of Amram, the son of Uz, the son of Nahor, for their women. And these are the names of the daughters of Amram. The name of the elder was Miramah, and the name of the younger was Uzith. And Naphtali took Miramah, and Gad took Uzith, and brought them to the land of Canaan to their father's house. Miramah bar Ezra, and Uzith bar 7 sons. 4 sons, 7 sons. Asher. Here's Asher. He took a woman, but she died. Sarah did not come from Jacob's body among the 66 in 46:26. Maybe they just got the numbers wrong. Maybe they should have left out this little girl, since she did not come from his loins, and put in Yocheved. But Yocheved was in the womb at the time. It appears that she was in the womb when they went down to Egypt, but she wasn't born until they were in Egypt. Well, again, we have to dig deeper to find out these things. One of the sons was Bariah, and their sister and Zerah, their sister. Look what it says in Yasher. And Asher went in Yasher. And Asher went forth and took Adon, the daughter of Aphlau, the son of Hadad, the son of Ishmael, for a woman, and brought her to the land of Canaan. And Adon, wife of Asher, died in those days. She had no offspring. And it was after the death of Adon that Asher went to the other side of the river and took Hadorah, the daughter of Avimael, the son of Eber, the son of Shem. And the young woman was a comely appearance, and the woman of sense. And she had been the wife of Melchiel, the son of Elam, the son of Shem. And Adorah bore a daughter to Malchiel, and he called her name Sarah. Malchiel called her name Sarah, and Malchiel died after this. And Adorah went and remained in her father's house. When the woman dies, she goes back to her father's house. And after the death of Asher's woman, he went and took Hadorah for a woman and brought her to the land of Canaan, and Sarah, her daughter. So he had a stepdaughter. That's what Sarah is. He also brought with them. And she was 3 years old. And the damsel was brought up in Jacob's house. And the damsel was of comely appearance. And she went in the sanctified ways of the sons of Jacob. She lacked nothing, and Jehovah gave her wisdom and understanding. And Hadorah, the wife of Asher, conceived and bare unto him 4 sons. So that's why they say her and their sister. They were their sister, or she was their sister, but by another father. But again, she's not part of Jacob's loins, his Yarak, that we're going to talk about later. These are the sons of Zilpah. We already counted them, whom Laban gave to Leah, his daughter. And these bore to Jacob 13 persons. Yeah, they weren't born. She wasn't born to Jacob. The sons of Rachel, Jacob's woman. Look at this. This is the only woman that actually says the seed of Rachel, Jacob's woman. It doesn't say the seed of Zilpah, Jacob's woman. None of them say that except for this one right here. Were Joseph and Benjamin. And to Joseph in the land of Egypt were born Manasseh and Ephraim, whom Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, bore to him. And Benjamin's seed were, look at that, 1, 2, 3, well, you must count them. No, they don't. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sons. These were the seed of Rachel, who were born to Jacob, 14 persons. 10 sons, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 sons, correct. Now we have the sons of Bilhah, Dan. Dan's seed was Hushim. He only had one son. And Dan went to the land of Moab and took a woman, Aphalalat, the daughter of Kamudan, the Moabite. And he brought her to the land of Canaan. And Aphalalat was barren, and she had no offspring. And Elohim afterwards remembered Aphalalat, Dan's woman, and she conceived and bare a son and called his name Cushim. Naphtali we already talked about. These are Bilhah's seed, whom Laban gave to Rachel, his daughter. And she bore these to Jacob. She bore them to Jacob, 7 persons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Do you notice that the ladies are never being counted? Didn't count Zilpah, didn't count Bilhah, didn't count Rachel. Well, they were gone. Rachel and Leah were both gone. I don't know if Zilpah and Bilhah were still alive or not. 7 persons in all. All the persons who went with Jacob to Egypt, who came from his body, there it is, who came from his body, we're talking about his yarak, his private parts, were 66 persons in all. But the math doesn't add up, does it? And Joseph's seed, who were born to him in Egypt, were 2 persons. 2 persons. How come they don't say 2 sons? 2 sons. So they say seed, but then they call them persons. All the persons of the house of Jacob who went to Egypt were 70. Well, again, how does this work? I don't understand how this works. Let me open this up a little bit more so you can read this. I'm going to just slide this over here a little bit. Here I put, those who went to Egypt and came from Jacob's loins were 66. This is from Leah, not counting Jochebed. They made it 32. But it says 33, doesn't it? If it's 33, then it's 67. The other counts were right, 16, 11, 7. You understand what I'm saying? Then, now I took out here, because these are the ones who went down with Egypt, or down with Jacob to Egypt. We can't count Joseph and his 2 sons, because they're already down there, aren't they? So we have to take them out of this count right here to be able to get the correct counts. Because we had 14 when we counted this before. Of Rachel's seed were 14. But we got to take them out because we're talking about only Benjamin right now, who had 10 sons plus himself. That was the 11. But there's the 66. But it's not 33. Again, there's errors in Torah. We don't see them because we don't look for them. We just, oh, well, okay, I'll just zip through this and not even think about it. And then finally, is Jacob the 70th one? Jacob went down, but this is talking about, well, here, let's look at the next verse. I think it's the next verse that we're going to talk about it. Let's read this verse again. And Joseph's seed, who were born to him in Egypt, were 2 persons. All the persons of the house of Jacob who went down to Egypt were 70. 70. The house of Jacob. So do we count Jacob? I think we have to. I think he's the last one. Jacob, I put Jacob went 2. This count does not include Jacob. It does not include Jacob, Zilpah, Bilhah. No, it does include Jacob. Does not include Zilpah, Bilhah, or any of the sons' women except Dinah. It does include Dinah, not because she was the wife of Simeon, but because she was the daughter of Jacob. Remember, she became Simeon's first woman. Well, all very interesting. I just think this is a fascinating section to learn about seed. Then he sent Judah before him to Joseph. So they're going down to Egypt. Now he's going to send Judah ahead. Remember, Judah is the one who's always talked to Joseph. He's going to continue to talk to Joseph to point out before him the way to Goshen. And they came to the land of Goshen. So Joseph made ready his chariot and went up to Goshen. To meet his father Israel. And he presented him to him and fell on his neck and wept a good while. Here's Joseph meeting up with his father. So Joseph made ready his chariot and went to Goshen to meet his father Israel. Oh my goodness, how exciting is this? Look, I just read it without even hardly thinking about it. And he presented himself to him and fell on his neck and wept on his neck a good while. Made ready his chariot. Did he want to go by himself? Wait until you see what happened. We're going to go a little bit longer today. I'm sorry. I got to go longer. I want you to see what happened. This is just too good. We're talking about the reuniting of Jacob with his son Joseph. And Israel said to Joseph, "Now let me die, since I have seen your face, because you are still alive." Jacob is 130 years old today, and Jacob is going to live to be 147 years old. "Since I have seen your face, because you are still alive." Then Joseph said to his brothers and to his father's household, "I will go up and tell Pharaoh and say to him, 'My brothers and those of my father's house who are in the land of Canaan have come to me. And the men are shepherds, for their occupation has been to feed livestock. And they have brought their flocks, their herds, and all that they have. So it shall be when Pharaoh calls you and says, "What is your occupation?" Then you shall say, "Your servant's occupation has been with livestock from our youth till now, both we and our fathers, that you may dwell in the land of Goshen, for every shepherd is an abomination to the Egyptians." Makes me wonder if we who have separated ourselves from the world, who have become Israel's seed, if we should be in the line of livestock. I don't think we're supposed to be dwelling in cities. I'm so grateful that I'm here right now with Raya. So we're on a little bit of a ranch, and we can have a certain amount of livestock, but we're still very limited as to what we can have. But we need to get someplace where we can be. Pray that I can find a place for us to live, where we can live separate from the world and have a place for livestock. I really believe that's what Yehovah has for us in mind. Well, before we close today, I've got to read to you what it talks about here in Yasher, the reuniting of Jacob with his son Joseph. This is in Yasher chapter 55. "And it came to pass after this that Jacob said, 'I will go and see my son in Egypt, and I will then come back to the land of Canaan, of which Elohim had spoken unto Abraham, for I cannot leave the land of my birth.'" Look at that. He was going to visit Joseph and come back. Yehovah has other plans. "Behold, the word of Yehovah came to him, 'Go down to Egypt with all thy household and remain there. Fear not to go down to Egypt, for I will there make thee a numerous people, a gadol goyim.' And Jacob said within himself," what's going on here? "And Jacob said within himself, I will go and see my son, whether the fear of Elohim is yet in his heart amidst the inhabitants of Egypt." Isn't that interesting? He wants to go and see if the fear of Elohim is yet in Joseph's heart. Oh, that is so precious. Jacob's not interested in seeing the greatness of Jacob, his house, or all that he has. The only thing Jacob wants to know is whether the fear of Elohim is yet in his son's heart. And Yehovah said to Jacob, "Fear not about Joseph, for he still retains his integrity to serve me, as will seem good in thy sight." And Jacob rejoiced exceedingly concerning his son. At that time, Jacob commanded his sons and his household, to go to Egypt, according to the word of Yehovah unto him. And Jacob rose up with his sons and all his household, and he went out from the land of Canaan, from Beersheba, with joy and gladness of heart. And there they went to the land of Egypt. And it came to pass, when they came near Egypt, Jacob sent Judah before him to Joseph, there it is. We were just talking about Judah going ahead. Jacob sent Judah before him to Joseph, that he might show him the situation in Egypt. And Judah did according to the word of his father, and he hastened and ran and came to Joseph, and they assigned for them a place in the land of Goshen for all the household. And Judah returned and came along the road to his father. Joseph harnessed his chariot, and he assembled all his mighty men. Remember, did Joseph have his chariot? The chariot that he was inaugurated in? No, he sent it down there. Whose chariot is he using? And Joseph harnessed the chariots, and he assembled all his mighty men and his servants and all the officers of Egypt. Remember, we were just talking. Did Jacob go down alone or up alone to meet his daddy? That's what it looked like in Torah, but look what's going on here. He assembled all his mighty men and his servants and all the officers of Egypt in order to go and meet his father Joseph. And Joseph's mandate was proclaimed in Egypt, saying, all that do not go to meet Jacob shall die. And on the next day, Joseph went forth with all Egypt, a great and mighty host, all dressed in garments of fine linen and purple, with which instruments of silver and gold and with instruments of war with them. And they all went to meet Jacob with all sorts of musical instruments, with drums, timbrel, strewing myrrh and aloe all along the road. And they all went after this fashion, and the earth shook at their shouting. Can you imagine the group of people that is with him? Torah doesn't do any of that, does it? And all the women of Egypt went upon the roofs of Egypt and upon the walls to meet Jacob. And upon the heads of Joseph was Pharaoh's regal crown. And Pharaoh had sent it to him to put on at the time of his going to meet his father. And when Joseph came within 50 cubits of his father, he alighted from his chariot, and he walked towards his father. And when all the officers of Egypt and his nobles saw that Joseph had gone on foot toward his father, they alighted and walked on foot towards Jacob. And Jacob approached the camp of Joseph. Jacob observed the camp that was coming towards him with Joseph, and it gratified him, and Jacob was astonished at it. And Jacob said unto Judah, who is that man who I see in the camp of Egypt dressed in kingly robes, with a very red garment upon him and a royal crown on his head, who has alighted from his chariot and is coming toward us? And Judah answered his father, saying, he is thy son, Joseph the king. And Jacob rejoiced in seeing the glory of his son. And Joseph came nigh unto his father, and he bowed to his father. And all the men of the camp bowed to the ground with him before Jacob. And behold, Jacob ran and hastened to his son Joseph. Oh, can you imagine this greeting? And fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept. And Joseph also embraced his father and kissed him, and they wept, and all the people of Egypt wept with him. Oh, so beautiful. And Jacob said unto Joseph, now I will die cheerfully after I have seen thy face, that thou art still living and with glory. Living and with glory. Wow. And Jacob's seed and their women and their children and their servants. Jacob's seed is not the wives, it's not the children, it's not the servants. And all the household of Jacob wept exceedingly with Joseph, and they kissed him and wept greatly with him. And Joseph and all his people returned afterward home to Egypt. And Jacob and his sons and all the sons of his household came with him, and with Joseph to Egypt. And Joseph placed them in the best parts of Egypt, in the land of Goshen. Well, I'm going to stop here. We got to see Joseph reunited with his dad. I really wanted you to see that today. And we'll pick up here next week, I think, with Genesis 47. Thank you for joining me. I just love this story. I hate to be finishing Genesis. There's only 50 chapters. We're already going on the 47th chapter of Genesis right now, but there is so much more information here in Yasher that we're going to see and learn about before we get to Exodus 1. Oh my goodness, it's so very exciting. The life of Moses. How long were we in Egypt? Remember, we just found out today that Yocheved, Moses' mother, was born when we went down to Egypt. She was in the womb. Was she 430 years old when they left Egypt? No. She gave birth to a son. Well, we've got lots to learn. It's very exciting to see how it all fits together. Well, what happened in Egypt? So much to see. Well, we'll get back to it next week. Hey, thanks for joining me today again. I so appreciate having you here. We'll catch you later. Bye now.